Okay, everyone. Let me find some more light. Hold on. So, I got glasses. You all can let me know how you think about my new glasses. I'm blind. I can't see anything. Like, literally, like, can't see more than, like, this past my face. I can't see anything. Everything's very blurry. So I had a very interesting day today. I've been crying all day. And I called my brother actually so he could be here so I could have someone to hang out with. I didn't want to be alone today, but he's not here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay. So you all are gonna bear witness to this. So I met a guy today at work. I'll tell you exactly what happened. I'm a little drunk right now because I had to get drunk after I heard this story, but I'm reading a book right now called The History of the CIA by Tim Whitener. He won a Pulitzer Prize for it. It was on Democracy Now! Actually a few years ago. Maybe last year. And I'm halfway through the book, and right now I'm on the Reagan administration, the beginning of the Reagan administration, the Iran-Contra scandal. The whole book's about the history of the CIA, and I have mixed feelings about the book because I'm pretty sure the book is a compilation of the history of the CIA, but in that process he cuts out a lot of information about like COINTELPRO, what FBI did, the CIA's involvement, and the Iran-Contra scandal I'm reading right now. He barely mentions the Iran-Contra scandal. He really mentions the CIA operations in Iran and how the CIA started the ISI. That's Pakistan. The CIA started the intelligence service in Iran. So anyway, I'm reading this book, and today I decided to read behind this big plant so I could lay down in the grass and be in the sun. So, I know, it's just a lovely job. So I'm reading the book, and then I went to lunch, and I left the book there so I could come back and read it. And then the woman who gave a tour after me, apparently some kid found the book. Well, there was a guy on the tour. Well, when I walked in to get lunch, there was a guy who walked in, and he was asking about something about his he wanted some information about Cajun music or Acadian music that had managed that he wanted to see if that music was still around in this culture, in Louisiana culture. So I didn't know much about that. I didn't know much about that. Whatever. I didn't care. I wasn't really thinking about it. I don't focus on Cajun culture. I really focus on Creole culture. And I don't know. I was going to lunch. I was hungry. I was really hungry today. So, when I came back from lunch, I went to get my book, and the tour guide, apparently, some kid complained there was a book there, and the mother of the kid just couldn't accept that there was a book on the ground, so she picked it up and gave it to the tour guide, and the tour guide gave it to me. Okay, so when she gave it to me, here it is. The guy who asked about the Acadian culture stuff said that he was actually actually what he said was, "Don't you believe everything you read?" And I was like, well, this is a good book though. It's a really good book. You won a Pulitzer Prize. And he said, well, just remember that, you should definitely read a history book from somebody who is not part of the country so you get a more unbiased opinion. And I was like, well, but still, the guy won a Pulitzer, And, of course I read other books, And then he told me he was a member of the Canadian Intelligence Service. Yeah, that's what I've been waiting for the last 4 minutes to build up to. He was a member of the Canadian Intelligence Service, and he was tortured. He was tortured in the late 70s for about, I think he said, 5 years. He told me a lot of stuff, and he didn't tell it very linearly. And I knew within the first minute of talking to him, he had been tortured. He had everything I've seen off Democracy Now! He had all of the signs of being tortured. The way he was sporadic in his thinking and scattered, and he was really happy. Abnormally happy. Like, clearly somebody who had been through a very stressful situation and had learned to just smile through it no matter how painful it is. And so he told me over time, we had a lot of conversation. He was very smart. He spoke like 7 different languages. I speak about 4. We talked a lot about how intelligence service works, and well, anyway, he told me he got captured by the KGB. He told me he got captured by the KGB and tortured for 5 years. He was sent to a few different prisons. And that's some of the stories he told me about. He told me that when you get waterboarded, you should actually just try to drink as much water as you can up your nose to kill yourself. Because if you try to kill yourself, they'll probably stop. Because that's how you have to think when you're being tortured. He took a class. Can't remember the name of it around. Biscuit teams are what's operating right now in Guantanamo, and he named all of them. He said those things that happened to him. He named all of them, and torture really bothers me. I saw the road to Guantanamo, and since that day, the idea that this stuff actually happens to people that don't sit well with me at all. I spent the whole day crying over it today. So I study all this stuff, and for the first minute, I thought this dude was crazy, and then he started naming stuff that only somebody who works in this kind of business would know, and then I was just like, this is the truth, and I know how to react to it. I was amazed that someone was telling me this information. I had someone to talk to about this stuff finally. We had a long conversation, and he was clearly tortured for 5 years, starved, electrocuted, a cattle prod was put to his genitals. He's told me he hadn't had sex in 25 years. He can't have sex. So it really dawned on me that this happened. This is not just some kind of thing I study. Thing I'm interested in. It's not just politics I'm interested in. It really dawned on me that this really happens to people. People really get tortured. People are being tortured right now in Guantanamo. People's lives are being completely ruined. He knew a lot about Maher Arad too, and he was like, well, Maher Arad doesn't really matter a whole lot, so it was better. It was what's the word I want for it? It was logically, rationally better to just have him to be sent to Syria and be tortured than to assume he wasn't a spy or something like that and not send him to Syria. So that's why they opted to do it. And honestly, throughout I'm a very intelligent man, but listening to these stories, and as awful as these stories were, and I mean they were really unbelievably awful, I wouldn't mind working for the Canadian Intelligence Service. Honestly, I'd probably consider it. The CIA, from this book I'm reading, the CIA is a bumbling organization which, in all honesty, should be ended tomorrow. Years ago, 100 years ago. The CIA is an awful, awful, awful organization that does all kinds of awful things, bribes all kinds of awful people into positions to make so America can control the world through our money, basically, and bombs, I guess, nuclear weapons. So it's awful. It's absolutely awful, and it shouldn't exist. And not only that, no one at the CIA, next to nobody at the CIA, speaks a foreign language. They're not polyglots. Next to nobody speaks a foreign language at the CIA. The CIA basically is very politically orientated, and so they cook up the intelligence to fit whatever person is in charge. Is what I generally figured. That's what the book said. So like, it's a worthless. Why do we need a CIA at this point? He told me the Canadian intelligence services, everybody there spoke. This guy spoke 7 languages. Okay, and he told me that the Canadian embassy had a lot to do with saving the hostages from the the hostage thing that happened at the end of the Carter administration. He told me that the Canadian embassy are the ones who really got the hostages out, not Reagan or not Carter. It's just to meet somebody who is living history of all this. He got traded at the end of all of his torture. They started fattening him up, and then he started figuring out that they were probably going to release him. Because they wanted to prove that he hadn't been tortured, so they started fattening him up again. And so they traded him at this bridge in Berlin. This bridge is a very famous bridge. When I lived in Berlin, I walked across this bridge. I had picnic. It's very, it's a park now, so it's just people go there and have picnics and stuff. I had no idea that it had an important part of Soviet history until someone told me at the end of the day. But people used to trade spies at this bridge. All kinds of illegal deals and things, secret deals happened at this bridge. It was the space where I think the Russian army traded things with the American army, or the East traded things with the West, or some big contentious thing happened over this bridge. That dealt with the politics of 50 years ago, and so he was telling me these stories. He was traded over that bridge for another